Here's 3 ways to know you're lifting heavy enough in the gym. Today I'm going to be taking you through 3 ways to know that you're actually lifting heavy enough in the gym. If you haven't yet, go back and watch my video on how to pick weights in the gym, because that will really help you figure out how to actually pick the weights that will be heavy enough for you to lift in the gym. But I have 3 tips and signs that you can check in on yourself to see, is this weight actually heavy enough, or can I be pushing myself harder in the gym? A lot of people underestimate how heavy they can lift or underload themselves in the gym. This isn't just true to women, but also males as well. And people in general, especially if you haven't had an athletic background where you're used to or familiar with the feeling of pushing yourself. And so there's 3 key things we can do to check in on ourselves to see if we actually are lifting heavy enough in our training sessions. Number 1, are your reps slowing down as you get to the final few reps of your set? When you're doing a lift in the gym, you shouldn't be able to just kind of go through the motions and count until you get to the reps that you're trying to get at and stop. What you should see is when you're going through the gym and you're going through the motions, your first few reps will be faster, but then as you keep doing more reps and you either get closer to that proximity to failure that we're looking for, and or you're getting close to being done with the set, you'll notice that the reps aren't as fast. They start to slow down a little bit because your muscles have to work harder in order to produce force. Now, this does not mean stop as soon as your reps start to slow down. It just simply means that you should see your reps start to slow down as you get into the last few reps of your set. When we're thinking about lifting and picking a load in the gym, we wanna be lifting where we have 1 to 4 reps left in the tank, or we could do 1 to 4 more reps left before we fail. On heavy compound lifts, it's probably gonna be closer to that 2 to 4 reps left in the tank. And for accessory work and isolation movements, maybe closer to that 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. So you should see that your last reps will generally be decently slow, because it means that you're lifting close to that location of failure where you couldn't move the weight at all anymore. So number 1 is, are your reps slowing down? Number 2 is, do you actually need the full 1, 2, up to 5 minute rest period? A lot of people in the gym will say, I'm bored between my reps and sets. I don't need that much rest. You know, I feel like it's a waste of time. You're kind of just, okay, you're ready to go again within 30, 45, 60 seconds. A good indication that you're not lifting heavy enough is that you feel recovered and ready to go in a very short period of time. Now, obviously there's going to be a difference between how much rest you need for a heavy back squat or heavy deadlift versus maybe something like a bicep curl. And you can look at my video on rest times to kind of learn more about that. But you should actually feel like you need the full rest period in order to recover to do the next set. This is especially true for heavy compounds or even heavy accessory moves. You want to need that full rest period where you need to regroup and recover and actually be able to repeatedly produce the same force output over time. The phosphocreatine system, which plays the role in that power output or a lot of the energy production and lifting, takes about 2 to 5 minutes to fully recover, and that's why we want that rest period within those times. And you should feel like you actually need to rest to be able to reproduce force again. If you're able to do a set of something, especially like a heavy compound movement, like a back squat, a deadlift, a bench, a shoulder press, a row, whatever it is, and then you can kind of just, okay, and go back and do it again, that likely means you didn't lift heavy enough. Your body probably needs to recover to be able to repeat and do that weight and set again. And number 3 is, when you're lifting, it actually requires you to focus. Again, like I said in the beginning, we don't just want to be passively going through the motions, kind of looking around, easy peasy, you could kind of keep going all day, I guess I'll stop. What we want to have happen when you're in the gym and you're going through your lifting motions, you should be lifting heavy enough that it requires a little bit of focus. And that means the intensity is higher, the weight's usually higher, because that increased weight brings intensity, and that intensity brings interest. So you can also go back and watch my video on how to make progressive overload more fun. One of those things is to drive up the intensity by driving up the weight, and that makes it so you have to focus more, and it makes your lifting more interesting. So you kind of actually get to enjoy your weight training sessions a little bit more, while also getting more bang for your buck. So that means when I'm doing these weight training moments, I'm actually having to focus on what my body is doing, bracing my core, pressing with my shoulders, you know, driving up that weight. And actually having to think about producing the force that I'm trying to do. Now, not every single weight session that you have to do has to have you grunting like that, but but you should feel like you have to focus or actually exert yourself a little bit to complete the reps and sets that are prescribed in your training program. Now, if you haven't checked the boxes on all of these yet, that is totally okay. For people who are new to the gym or new to different movements, it might be a skill factor that it's limiting you on being able to lift heavy. Lift within the comfort of your skill on things like heavy compound moves, or use things like machines, isolation, or accessory moves to drive up that intensity where you're kind of in a safer, more comfortable position of what you're moving in or locked into that position, or accessory moves where you can kind of handle a little bit more intensity because your skill factor isn't as much of a limiter. Absolutely gain confidence in the skill and what you're doing. You don't need to load yourself or overload yourself on day one. For beginners or newbies, I think it's okay to lift a little bit lighter as you gain confidence and skill and exposure and fitness there, and then build up to that over time. But for everybody else who's kind of been in the gym, you're going through routine and you kind of feel like your results are stalled or you're not making as much progress or lifting isn't really working for you, try these things to check in on yourself and see if you are actually doing the things that you need to be doing that tell you, hey, I'm lifting enough, this is enough intensity, this is enough stimulus, and that will probably translate to more gains and more strength and more muscle mass over time. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss another video. Let me know if you learned something in the caption or what you'd like to see in a next video, and otherwise, I'll catch you guys on the next one.